Hello, welcome to ACI Controls. I'm going to pick back up on this pasteurizer, and I'm going to start on the piping. And since I don't have the boiler in there yet, I'm going to start over here on the inlet side and work my way off to the outlet side, and then in between the pumps. So let's get welding. Most all this welding is going to be done over here on this lathe. It's to work best for doing the piping. So we'll get rigged up and get going. So this cross can be a bit of a bear to weld because you got to be up so tight to the purge equipment, but you can see it does end up with a nice weld on the inside and the outside. I'll take this out to the TIG brush and clean all that stuff off the outside. You can see the inside is nice and clean and definitely sanitary. The product input section is in now, and I like to pitch it down about a degree so any product rolls back out of there and the machine's not in use, so there's nothing getting trapped in there. Then it has to be tied in over here. This valve assembly up to some more valving up here, which is going to be part of the output section. So there'll be input and output ties together, and it exits out over here through another valve that's not in here yet. I got some of the glycol stuff in over here now. And before I finish this input output section, I gotta get back in here and work to tie the heat exchanger and the whole loop together, because it's tough enough to work back in there. I don't need a lot of pipes in the way, so that's going to be the next section. For the sake of brevity, I leave out a lot of the gory details of building these, and there's definitely a lot of gory details. But I am going to touch a little bit on the measuring method. I prefer the old school of a plumb bob versus like a laser. I don't trust the lasers. They're kind of a pain to set up, and I don't trust even the ones with the gimbals on it to the gimbal be functioning properly. So, I mean, you got a pointy weight, a string, and gravity. Ain't a lot can go wrong, and it's usually pretty trustworthy. So I'll just bring pipes in from both directions, and then join them in the middle. And a lot of the stuff will be, everything's fixtured up in the lathe, and then some of the ends are where I can't really orbital that well are done in the lathe, and then the rest is done with the orbital. So we'll continue putting this one together. I used a plumb bob to get all the measurements for that upper heat exchanger line. I got it set up in there right now to fully weld it in the lathe. It's tough to orbital a section like that due to the purge equipment and having those reducers in there, so I do all this on the lathe. So everything that can be lathe welded has been welded, and I'll just put the the assemblies come from either end of the run, and I'll use my trusty handy dandy homemade clamps to tie it together. I'll put some reference marks on there, and I'll tack it, and then put it in the orbital welder and finish orbital welding it, and then take the TIG brush, clean it up, polish it, and ready for installation. Now the other side of the whole loop, the heat exchanger is positioned in there, and now I just got to finish welding all those pipes up, and be done with that section. So I'm just ready to set the feed pipe to the top of the whole loop in now, and I'm pretty fanatical about making sure when you get these pipes done that they're as perfectly lined up as possible, so when summer just has to come up and set the things right in place and don't have to pry them in place, something like that. They're ready to go, and this is what I mean. Set that right in there. That's perfectly. It's good to go. Now the next section we're going to assemble is going to be this crossover pipe between these two bulkheads on the heat exchanger, and then once that's done, then I'll start tying this valve over to another valve that goes in here down to the input down there, and I will try when this line comes in down along here, I will try to pitch it so it tips back, and it will drain anything back into this valve pack, which is part of the drain valve, which is the drain valve right down there. So I got the crossover pipe down in there now. All of it's done in the back of the heat exchanger over the whole loop, and I'm just starting to work on the tying the input-output section and drain system back together. And once again, I use the trusty old handy plumb bobs to set all the angles and alignments. So I'll start cutting the pipes for that and weld that together. This input-output section is now roughed in. I got to pull that apart, finish welding all that up, and then get its anchors in place. And this is always a major pain to get this section in here for some reason. Try to get all the angles in here right, and heights and all the other crap. But it's in there now, so I'll finish welding it and anchor it down. Now this crossover pipe here, I'm going to actually take and weld on a lathe, because I can't really do that in the orbital. And this drop pipe will be welded over here in the orbital welder. So this side of the pasteurizer is pretty much installed. Got the glycol and the valve in there. I got all the input, output, divert valve stuff in place for the product. Drain valve system down in there. And all the lines are in and out of the heat exchanger on the back side of the whole loop. And the next step is going to be next video is going to be to tie the boost pump and the timing pump into the heat exchanger through the flow meter, and then I'll probably be on hold for a while until the boiler shows up to go over in that spot there. So in the meantime, thanks for watching.